Hello everyone, this is the second part of our video tutorial for the textbook project in Module 2. At the end of the first part of this video tutorial, I showed you how to check your formulas to make sure that when we copy them from one cell to a range of other cells, they were done properly, right? Another way to do this, and perhaps a more efficient way to check your reference cells in a formula, is by using a tool called the rangefinder. So we're going to follow the steps in the textbook to do this. Step 1 says double-click cell I4 to activate the rangefinder. So cell I4 is where I have calculated my tax rate. So let's go ahead and double-click on that cell. As you can see, when I did that, I activated this rangefinder tool. What does this tool do? It literally checks the cells references that I have used in a certain formula and highlights them in different colors. So what does my formula say in this case? I've taken G4, which is my federal tax, and as you can see, the font for G4 is in blue in my formula, and also the corresponding cell G4 is highlighted in a blue frame. Plus, we added the state tax, which is both in red, the fonts for the cell name and the corresponding cell. We take that sum and then we divide it by the gross pay, which is highlighted in purple. So as you can see, this makes it very easy for you in identifying the cells that are referenced in your formula. That way you can check that your formula is correct, and if you see any errors, you can easily make an adjustment to fix that error. In order to get out of this rangefinder tool, we're going to press escape on our keyboard, top left corner. And then our cell I4 still activates, so I'm going to click anywhere in the spreadsheet, or as it says in the instructions, you can click on cell A18, for example, to deactivate the current cell. All right, next, in the second part of the video tutorial, we're going to be learning how to format our worksheet. In our first module, we formatted our worksheet for that textbook project using cell styles. You probably remember that in order to get to those cell styles, we went to the Home tab, and under the Styles group right here, we click on those cell styles, right, to find different styles that we could apply to our worksheet. This time, we're going to learn how to work with themes, right? We're going to be using themes and also other commands on the ribbon to format our worksheet this time. So what are themes? Themes are essentially a collection of font styles, colors, font sizes, different effects that you can apply to your worksheet to create a consistent and homogeneous look. The great thing about themes is that they're common to different Office programs, not just Excel. So for example, Word or PowerPoint. So let's say that you're giving out a very professional presentation and you want to hand out a written report that you created with Word. Then you also have your slides that you created with PowerPoint, and you also want to hand out a printout of an Excel spreadsheet where you have done your data collection and calculated some important information. So in order to do that, you could apply the same theme to all those documents and have a very homogeneous looking and professional looking presentation. So let's go ahead and look at what our sheet should look like. I'm going to open the textbook to figure 229. A, right, 229A, as you can see, is our current worksheet, the unformatted worksheet. We have entered all the data, we have all our formulas, our functions, our calculations, everything has been done. But we need to format it, right, to make it look better, to enhance the appearance and make it look more professional. So as you can see in part B, we see the formatted worksheet. So that's our goal. That's what our worksheet should look like once we finish this video tutorial. Let's go back to our spreadsheet and start working on our steps to format the entire worksheet. All right, so first we're going to choose a workbook theme. In order to do so, we're going to click on Page Layout. It's one of the tabs across the top. So you have Home, Insert, Draw. The next one is Page Layout. Click on that. Then on the far left corner, we're going to click on the Themes button. So click on Themes, and that will display the Themes gallery. Several different options here. As you move your mouse on them, you'll see that the style, font size style will change. Sometimes even the colors will change for the email addresses. So just experiment with moving your mouse over the different options so you can get an idea of what the different themes look like, right? Our instructions are asking us specifically to use the gallery theme, right? So we're gonna click on gallery, which is the third column on the first row. So click on that gallery, and that's what we see now. We have changed the look of our worksheet. I see two significant changes. The font looks different. And also these email addresses on column B have changed from blue to a red font, right? So we have changed the theme of our workbook to the gallery theme. Next, we're going to format the worksheet titles. So step 1 says display the home tab. So I'm going to go back to home. Number 2, select the range to be merged. So we want to select A1 to K1. This is the title of my worksheet. And we're going to click on merge and center. This is under the home tab in the alignment group. Right? So here's the alignment group, the one that looks like an Excel spreadsheet with arrows pointing left and right. If we click on it, that allows me to merge all those cells. So as you can see now, A1 to K1 became just one big cell, and the text in it is centered. All right, so we've finished that step. Step 3 says select the range A2 to K2. So this is where we have our subtitle, A2 to K2. And then click and merge center button again. So we're doing the same thing to the subtitle. So cell A2 now has become one long cell that goes all the way from A2 to K2. Step number 4, select the range to contain the title cell style. So in this case, A1 and A2. So we're going to select the title and the subtitle. Click the Cell Styles button, which is in the Home tab Styles group. So right here in this group, we're going to click on Cell Styles. And this will allow us to display the Cell Styles gallery. We want to choose the Title Cell Style, which is in the Title and Headings group. So Title and Headings, Title option. All right. So we have changed that cell styles to the titles cell style option. Next step is select cell A2, and we're going to decrease the font size. So in order to do this, we can go to the Home tab, which is where we are. Particularly, we're going to click on the font group, so right here. And as you can see, the font size right now, it's 18, is displayed here. So you could click on that drop-down menu to change that font size, but the instructions are asking you to use the decrease font size, which are this capital A with an arrow going up, that's to increase it. The one to the right is capital A with an arrow pointing down. So if we click on that, it decreased the font size, as you saw, from 18 to 16. Right? So we have completed that step. Next, we're going to work on changing the background color, and we're going to apply a box border to the worksheet title and subtitle. So why do you want to do this? It may be that you want to highlight a certain cell. In this case, we want to highlight the title and subtitle of the worksheet. So a good way to do that is by applying a background. The most color common for a background is blue. So let's go ahead and follow the instructions. Step 1 says select the range A1 to A2. So that means the title and subtitle. And then we're going to go to the fill color arrow. So that's going to be in the font group. As you see, it looks like a little bucket pouring out paint. So click on that fill color arrow. This is going to display the fill color gallery. And you can experiment here by putting your mouse over the different colors and see what happens when you do that. Our step 2 is asking us to choose a specific color called Indigo Accent 5 Lighter 80%. It gives you the exact location, column 9, row 2. So that would be right here, right? There are 10 columns, so you can count from left to right. This would be column 10, this one is column 9, and we want row 2. So when I put my mouse over it, I'm not clicking yet, I'm just putting my mouse over it to make sure that I have the right one. That's Indigo Accent 5 Lighter 80%. All right, so now I can click on it. So I have achieved the desired color. Step 3 says we click the borders arrow also in the Home tab font group. So this one is right next to the fill color bucket. So we want to click on that arrow to display the border gallery. And it says click outside border. So go down that menu, and we want outside borders. All right, so that has applied an outside border to that selected range, which is the title and subtitle of the slide. Now we can go ahead and click anywhere in the worksheet, for example, cell A17, just so that we can see that our selection has now that background color. So next we're going to apply cell styles to the column headings, and also we're going to format the total rows. Some of our total rows are at the bottom and are not visible right now, so I'm going to hide the formula bar by clicking on this arrow, just so that my spreadsheet goes up a little bit and I'm able to see it. I could even zoom out just a bit with that bar at the bottom. So now I can see all the different rows, right? So let's go ahead and get started with step 1. Select the range to be formatted. We want range A3 to K3. So we have our column headings. All right, A3 to K3. And step 2 says go to the cell styles gallery, which is under the styles group. We're going to click on that drop down menu that's going to display the cell styles gallery, and we are asked to select heading 3 as our cell style. So click on heading 3, and that would apply that particular style to that range. 3, click the center button, which is in the home tab, alignment group. All right, so here's the alignment group. To center those cells, we're going to press right here, the one that says center your content. Step 4, apply the total cell style to the range A13 to K13. All right, so we're going to go to A13 to K13. Notice that it says to K13, so that last cell, K13, is an empty cell, but we want to apply the cell style to that entire row. So we're using the total cell style. We'll go to the cell styles gallery, and we want to use total. So the last one. All right. Click somewhere else, anywhere in the sheet, to make sure that that cell style is applied. Step 5, bold the range A14 to A16. So A14 to A16. That will be the totals, highest, lowest, and average, those statistics that we calculated for each column. So we're gonna bold them, and that's that dark B, capital B, in the font group. All right, there we go. Click somewhere else to make sure that everything looks good. We can move on to the next section. Next, we're gonna format dates and center the data in the cells. So why do we want to format the dates? Well, you may use this format to change them so that they're visible in whichever way you want them. You may want them in a year, month, date format, or month, day, year format. You may want a year with 4 digits, 2 digits, etc. Right, so let's follow the steps. Step 1 says select the range to contain the new date format, which is cells K4 to K12, the last column of our sheet. K4 to K12. That's where we have our dates. Step 2, on the home tab in the number group, so that's right here, we're going to click on the dialog box launcher. So pressing in that little arrow will launch the dialog box, and here we want to go to the numbers tab. That's where mine is, but if you were in a different tab, make sure you click on the number tab, the first one, then click on date. Again, that's where mine is, but if not, click on that date. And we want to select the one that says 3/14/12. So a year with only 2 digits. Okay, so we're going to click on that one. And when you have selected the correct one, you can press OK. So that applies that new format. As you can see, the change there was that the year now it's a 2-digit number instead of a 4-digit figure. And then we are done with formatting our dates. So let's move on to step 3. It says select the range C4 to C16. C4 to C16. So all the way to that average. And we want to center this one. So in the alignment group, we want to press center. All right, all those look center. Select cell E4 to deselect the selected range. All right, so we can go to E4. Next, we're going to apply the accounting number format and the comma style format using the ribbon. So step 1, select the range to contain the accounting format, which in this case will be cells E4 to H4. All right, so E4 to H4. All right, there we go. So just the first row. And while holding down Control, we're going to select a different set of cells as well. So we're going to hold Control. While holding Control with your keyboard, in your keyboard, use your mouse to now select cell J4. That's where we have our net pay. Also, we want to select F13 to H13. So F13 to H13. So those totals. And J13. All right, so that very last total. So once we've selected all of this, we're going to click on the accounting number format. So in the number group, the accounting format is the one with the dollar sign. So click on it. All right, so all of those have now a dollar sign. Notice that this accounting format has a fixed dollar sign. What does that mean? You'll see the dollar sign all the way to the left of the cell and then several spaces in between the dollar sign and the first digit. Also, all the numbers have been rounded to the second decimal place, so they're rounded to the nearest 100th value. And that's what this particular option does, this accounting format, accounting number format. Next, in step 4, we're going to select the ranges that contain the comma style format. So the instruction says select E5 to H12. So that's a matrix. E5 to H12. Right? So that big matrix, and J5 to J12. To select a range of non-adjacent cells, I need to press Control. So J5 to J12. All right, and I've selected the range, so now we're going to apply the comma style, which is in the numbers group as well. You'll see that big comma. All right, so there we go. We press the comma, and we can move on to the last step. Select the range D4 to D16. So D4 to D16, that entire column with the hours worked. And we want to apply the comma style as well. So press the comma, and that's it. We're done with that step. Now we're going to apply a currency style format with a floating dollar sign using the format cells dialog box. So step 1 says select the ranges E14 to H16. All right, E14 to H16, right? So that matrix with the highest, lowest, and average values. And also J14 to J16. So I have to press Control and then J14 to J16. So we're basically skipping the tax rate, right? We're gonna apply a different formatting to that. We wanna put them in percentage form. Once I have selected my ranges, I want to press the arrow in the numbers group. So that's going to display the dialog box for formatting cells. And if necessary, we want to click on the number tab. Mine is already on the number tab, but if yours is in a different one, make sure that you activate that one. And then here we want to click currency in the different categories. So it's the third one down. And make sure that you select that currency option if it's not already selected, like it was in my case. We want to click the third one. So notice that we have 2 decimal places, a dollar sign as our symbol, and for negative numbers, we want to select the third option. So that means that if I have any negative number, it's going to be displayed in parentheses, right? And as you can see, there's different formats. You could choose to display negative numbers in red or in red and parentheses. That's the one we want in this example. All right, so once you have the specific format, the third style, as I said, in the negative numbers list, we can go ahead and press OK. All right, so make sure that all the numbers look like they do in our textbook example. And I think we are done with that particular step. Notice that when we apply this currency style format, we are using a floating dollar sign as opposed to the fixed dollar sign that we got when we use the accounting number format. So I'm going to show you so you can compare. So this row right here that I'm highlighting, it has a fixed dollar sign. As you can see, the dollar symbol is on the far left, and there are a certain number of spaces in between the dollar sign and the first digit. With a floating dollar sign instead, that dollar symbol is always right next to the dollar, to the first digit in that number, right? So that's the main difference. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to our next section. We're going to apply a percent style format, and we're also going to use the increase decimal button. We want to do this to the tax rates in column I. So select the range to format cells I4 to I15. I4 to I15, right? That's my tax rate percent. All right, we're gonna select the percent style button, which is in the home tab in the numbers group as well. So you'll see here the percent sign. So we're gonna click on it. And as you'll see, the numbers have all been converted to a percentage value. I'm gonna press the arrow down. So I'm gonna go back one step here on the top left corner. Just 1 second, you don't need to do this. I just wanna show you something for a second. So these were the numbers unformatted. So look at the first one, 0.308418. What the percentage style format did is converted that to 31%. It rounded it to a whole number, right? So 31%. So I'm gonna redo that step so you can see this is where you are, this is where I'll join you. So we have all of those numbers converted to a percent, right? Next, we wanna increase the number of decimal places that we can see. So in order to do that, we can press the increase decimal button, which is also on the home tab, the numbers group. All right, so go back to the group. As you can see, there's decimal places here, an arrow going left to increase or an arrow going right to decrease. We want to increase it. The instruction said to click on it twice, right? 2 times. Because we want 2 decimal places. So I'm going to do it one by one. I'm going to click on it once, and you'll see the numbers are now displaying 1 decimal place. I'm going to do it one more time. So I now have 2 decimal places, which is the desired effect, right? That's our goal. All right, next we are going to talk about conditional formatting. This is a really cool tool because it allows you to apply a certain format to a range of cells or one cell or the whole sheet, depending on the values that they're displayed and whether these values meet a certain condition, right? So for example, I may want to highlight numbers that are negative in a sheet, and I can tell Excel, whenever you see a negative number, display them in red or with a yellow background so that they're very visible, right? So that's the purpose of conditional formatting. As I said, the format will be applied if the values meet a certain condition that you are going to set. You're going to create that rule. So let's go ahead and apply conditional formatting to our sheet. What we want to do is in the hours worked column, we want to highlight those values that are above 70. So those employees that worked more than 70 hours. So we're going to start by selecting our range D4 to D12, right? So that's where we have our hours worked. We're going to click on conditional formatting, which is in the home tab, the styles group. So right here, the first one. So click on that drop down menu, and we are going to select new rule. We want to start a new rule. So click on new rule. All right, you're going to get this dialog box. I'm going to move it a little bit to the right just so that we can see our cells. And here we want to click on format only cells that contain. So the second option under the select a rule type window. So the second one, format only cells that contain. Did you see what happened there? When I selected that, my bottom window, the edit the rule description, changed. I'm going to do that again. Look, I'm on the first one, and we have that bottom window with orange and yellow. When I select the second option, my window changes. All right. So we want to be in that specific format, format only cells that contain. Next, we're going to edit the rule. Right, so we want to click the arrow in the relational operator. So that's the one that says between. I'm going to click on that drop down menu, and we want to select there greater than. All right, so select greater than. So we want the cell value to be greater than the value of 70. So in your last box there, in the rightmost box, we're going to type the number 70. So my rule says we're going to apply a certain format if the cell value is greater than 70. All right, So let's go ahead and now step 3, click Format right here at the bottom right corner of the dialog box. We're gonna tell Excel which format we want to apply when the value meets this conditional rule. So click on Format. All right, I get this dialog box where I can set up a format for the numbers, the font, the borders, the fills. Look at all those tabs at the bottom, at the top there, right? Across the top. So we want to be on the font tab. So click on that one if necessary. You may already be there. Mine wasn't, so I had to click on it. So this is displaying the font sheet, right? Here, I want to click the color arrow. So under color here, click on that drop-down menu so that we can display the color gallery. The instructions tell me to select white background 1. So that is the very first option, white background 1, first column, first row. Click on it. All right, so we have our color. We're telling Excel to make that font white. All right, next, we're going to click the Fill tab, the last one. And this time, we want to click the purple color in column 8, row 1. So that would be right, this one right here, right? There are 10 columns, so I can count backwards. 10, 9, 8, column 8, row 1, that purple color. All right, click on it to select it, and then we're gonna press OK. All right, so as you can see, we're back into the main dialog box, and at the bottom now we can see a preview of our formatting. We are telling Excel that whenever one of the cells that contain the hours work, it's greater than 70, then that cell is going to be formatted with a purple background and a white font. So we're gonna select OK, and then look at your sheet and make sure that it works, right? So the first 3 cells, yes, they are above 70, so they have the format that I applied. And then cells D9 and 10 are also above 70, so they're also purple with a white font. Our next task is to adjust the column width and the row height. There are 2 ways in which we can do this. We can manually adjust to the desired measurements, or we can use the best fit option, in which we ask Excel to find the width of a column, for example, so that the widest entry in that column fits perfectly. We're going to see examples of both alternatives. So let's go ahead and follow the steps. Number 1 says, drag through column headings A, B, and C above row 1 to select the columns. So we're going to select the headings right above row 1. As you can see, I'm selecting column A. If I left click and drag that pointer to columns B and C, I have now selected the 3 columns. So I can let go of the mouse. I'm going to point my pointer to that boundary to the right-hand side of column C. When that pointer becomes a split double arrow, as you can see, I'm going to double click on that right side boundary of column C. That's going to use the best fit option. So observe what happens when I double click. There we go. You see the width of those columns increase so that the widest entry for each column would fit perfectly. The columns are not the same in width, right? Excel found the correct width for each of them so that all the entries were visible. All right, so we've done step 1. Let's go ahead and move on to step 2. It says point to the right boundary of column H, heading above row 1. So let's go ahead and select column H, point to the right boundary. And this time we're not going to use the best fit option, but instead we want to drag that pointer until the screen tips indicates a width of 10.38. So just grab it with your left click and try to match exactly. As you can see, the screen tip there shows me 10.4 right now. If I move a little bit to the left, that's 10.33. I find sometimes very frustrating trying to find the exact width that I want. So I'm going to show you a different alternative if you are struggling as well to get exactly the measurement that you need. So you can right click on that header of the column on H, select column width from this menu, and then just type in the desired measurement. So the book says select 10.38. All right, I press OK, and there we go. That is the column width that I need, right? All right, so step 3 says release the mouse to change the column width. We've done that. Next, we're going to click on column D, heading just above row 1. All right, that's column D. We're going to hold Control, and while holding Control, we're going to click on column E, And then the column I heading. We have to use control because these are non-adjacent columns, right? So we have D, E, and I, just like figure 252 in our textbook shows. I can let go of control and the mouse. Now that I have those 3 columns selected, I'm going to point to the boundary on the right side of column I heading, just above row 1 when the pointer becomes a double split arrow. And we're going to drag that until the screen tip indicates a width of 1050, right? So if you're able to reach that 1050 exactly, that's great. If not, and you're like me, you get frustrated easily, I'm going to do a right click on that column. Notice that when I did that, it's still selecting the 3 columns. I'm going to go to column width and just type it in. So we want 10.5. All right, press OK. Great. Step 4. It says release the mouse. We've done that because we adjusted the width already. Click the column F heading, all right? And then drag that to select column G as well. So we drag it to select the adjacent column G. Then while holding control, we're gonna select column J heading and drag to select column K. So we want J and K. So look at the figure 253 in your textbook. We have columns F, G, J, and K selected. We're going to point. It says, let's see, drag the right boundary of column G. All right, so we're going to drag it until the screen tip indicates a width of 11.13. Again, here you can go ahead and manually do it. Oh, I think this one, I was able to do it. There we go, 11.13. That one worked for some reason. That one was easier, so I didn't have to type it in. All right, we release the mouse. We're good. And then you can click anywhere on the sheets, for example, cell A17 at the bottom of your worksheet to deselect those columns. Next, we're going to learn how to adjust or modify the row height. So let's go ahead and point to the boundary below row heading 3. That's row 3. You see where when I point at the bottom border or boundary of row 3, that pointer becomes that split double arrow. And we're going to drag it until we see the screen tip show a height of 39. All right, let's see if we can get the exact measurement, 39. All right, if you're struggling like me right now, just go ahead and click on that entire row, selecting the heading, right click on that green area, and then this time we're going to go to row height. All right, so what is that? The book is asking us to select 39. So I'm just going to type it in. 39, press OK. All right, great. Release the mouse to select that row height. We've done that. Point to the boundary below row heading 14. So this time we want to increase the height of the row that has the highest values. So that's row 14. So point to that bottom boundary of row 14. This time we're going to drag it until the screen tip indicates a height of 24. Let's just go ahead and type it in. So we're going to select that row, right click on the row heading, so in the green area, row height. And what is that? We want a 24. Okay, press OK. And that's it. We've done that step. So we can click anywhere on our sheet, for example, A17, to deselect the current cell. Let's go ahead and save our sheet since we have completed several steps. We don't want to lose all our work. So File, Save. We only have 2 more tasks left. In the next one, we're going to learn how to do a spell check in our worksheet. And the last one is about printing our worksheet in different ways. So let's learn how to do a spell check. So our instruction says click on cell A3, right? And then we're going to mistype this word so that we can apply our spell check, right? It says employee. So the instruction says change it to employee. All right, press enter. And we're going to click on cell A2 just because we want to start the spell check right before the cell that we just changed, right? So in order to find the spell check, we want to go to review on the ribbon across the top. And then the spelling option is right on the left. It has a check mark with the letters A, B, C. So click on that. The spelling check dialog box will be displayed. And it tells you which word, it's not found in the dictionary, right? It recognizes the word that is misspelled. So employee is not found in the dictionary. The dialog box will give you different options. So in the suggestions window, select the correct one. All right, I see the first one, it's employee, it's correctly spelled, so I press change. And as you can see, my cell A3 now has been changed to the correct spelling. All right, so press close to get out of the window. Your spell check is complete. You could continue doing that. If there are more misspelled words, just change all of them one by one. Let's go ahead and look at step number 2. It says verify that the word highlighted in the suggestion area is correct. We've done that. Click the change button. We did that, and then we close the dialog box. All right, so we're all done with that. Step number 3, we're going to click anywhere in the worksheet, right, just to deselect the current cell A3. So I'm going to press A17. You can go ahead and save your workbook one more time. You should probably get used to do that after every step. And next, we're going to learn how to print the worksheet. All right, so we already saw how to print the worksheet in Module 1. Today, we're going to look at some different options. For example, how to adjust the margins, which are the blank spaces on either side of your worksheet on your page. How to add a header and a footer to your page, which is something that's going to be above your worksheet or below your worksheet. It could be, for example, the author and your position, right, in the company. So let's go ahead and follow the instructions. Number 1 says click the page layout button on the status bar. So you can do it up here or at the bottom right corner. This is the status bar, and the page layout is the middle one. So I'm going to click on that one. I'm going to follow the instructions exactly as they are in the textbook. And this allows us to view the sheet in a page layout view. As you can see now, we have the sheet split into 2 pages. So this is how it would be printed. It's not a very nice split, so we're going to have to figure something out in order to fit it all in one page. But as you can see, we have headers at the top. If you scroll down, you'll have a footer. So those are the things that we're going to be playing with. So step 2 says display the page layout tab at the top of the page. Page layout. Click the margin button. So here's margins. Click on that drop down menu. And we want to click narrow in the margins. So that's going to narrow our margins. As you can see, there's a smaller space on either side. So that means we have more of that worksheet fitting into one page. Let's go ahead and go to the header area. So the instructions said if necessary, scroll up to display the header area. You could be there where you don't see it. So scroll up, and we're going to click on the center of that header area, just above the worksheet title. We're going to type Madeline Samuels. Oops, I mistyped that. There we go. I told you I'm a terrible speller, right? All right, so there we go, Madeline Samuels. And then we're going to press enter. And then we're going to type Chief Financial Officer. All right, Chief Financial Officer. All right, so we have completed the header. It looks exactly like in our textbook. And we can just press enter. We'll click anywhere in the sheet to deselect that cell. Step 4, display the page layout tab. So we're going to go back to that tab. Click the orientation button right next to margins. And this will display the orientation gallery. Step 5, we want to click landscape. All right, so we want to change the orientation of our sheet so that it can all fit on one page. All right, so as you can see now, I have it on landscape. I still have one column, the last one, the hire date, that's not fitting in my page. So we're gonna have to do something about that. It says double click the border to the right of the column heading F above row 1 to resize the column to best fit. Right, so right to the right of column F, when you see that split double arrow, go ahead and double click. That will change it to best fit. And then we'll do the same, double click the border to the right of column heading J above row 1 to resize it to the column to the best fit. So that's column J. All right, so we're gonna double click and it adjusted it to best fit. All right, so to print the worksheet, step 1 says click File on the ribbon to open the Backstage view. So File, and then Print to display the print screen. There we go. It says, if necessary, click the printer status button on the print screen to display a list of available printers. So that's this drop-down menu right here. We can see which printers are available. So I'm going to select the first one. That's the one that I have connected to my computer. That's the one I want to use to print. Click the no scaling button at the bottom. All right, so and let's look at the options here. We want to select fit sheet on one page. All right, so we want to be able to fit the whole sheet on one page. So click on that one. Now, as you can see, it all fits on one page. That last column, hire date, is now inside my page. And we can go ahead and click the print button on the print screen. All right, so select print, and that's it. All right, once the printer stops, of course, get your hard copy, and we can move on to our next task. So in the next task, we're going to print just a section of the worksheet. Sometimes we don't want to print the whole worksheet, but we just want to print a section of it. So step 1, we're going to select the range to print, which in this case is cells A3 to F16. So let's go ahead and select A3 to F16. All right, only that range. We're going to click File on the ribbon to open the Backstage view. Click Print. And we want to click Print Active Sheets to display the list of options that determine what Excel should print. And the instructions say click Print Selection, so that we're telling Excel to just print what we highlighted, right? That the selected cells, the selected range. All right, so there, as you can see now, I have the matrix that I had previously highlighted, which I think it was A3 to F16. That's all we see on the page that's going to be printed now. So we can go ahead and click print button on the top left to print the screen. All right, so then we should be able to get our paper. We're going to click the normal button on the status bar. So at the bottom, that's our status bar. We were in the page layout, view in the middle. Let's go ahead and click on the first one that takes us to the normal view. All right, so there we are back on the normal view. We're going to click anywhere on the worksheet to deselect the range that we had previously selected. Next, we're going to learn how to display the formulas on a worksheet instead of the values, and how to fit the printout in just one page. So in order to display the formulas, just click on any cell, let's say A17, and we're going to press Control and the accent mark. Did you see what happened? The accent mark is just above the Tab key on the top left corner of your keyboard, just below the Escape key. All right, so did you see what happened? When I press Control, the accent mark, I can now see the formulas instead of the values. I could go ahead and scroll with the horizontal scroll at the bottom, move towards the right so you can see all the formulas displayed instead of the values. All right, so let's make sure that we can see column K as per the instructions. Column K is now visible. Step 2 says click the page setup dialog box launcher. So under page layout, this group is called Page Setup, and we're going to click on that corner to display the dialog box. If necessary, click Landscape. We already have it on Landscape. And then if necessary, click the Fit to Option button in the scaling area to select it. All right, so it says Fit to, and we have it set to one page. Next, we're going to click the Print button in this Page Setup dialog box. So click Print, and this will take me to the Backstage view. In this Backstage view, we want to select Print Selection button, right? And we want to make sure that we select Print the active sheets. As you can see, nothing is displaying in my sheet right now because I had it to the selection. So I'm going to click print active sheet, and now it's displaying exactly what I want, which is the entire sheet, but displaying the formulas instead of the values. We're going to click the print button to print the worksheet. All right, so there we go. Our paper should come out with the entire worksheet on one page, displaying formulas instead of values, as I said. Step 4, after viewing and printed the formulas version, go ahead and press Control and then the accent mark again to instruct Excel to display the values version again. So let's make sure that we click anywhere on the sheet and press Control, accent mark. All right, I'm going to scroll to the left so I can see column A again, and here it looks back to normal. Then our very final step is we're going to change the print scaling option back to 100%. So in most printers, when you change that scaling option to fit your worksheet to one page, that setting will remain unless you change it back to print 100%, right? The scaling option of 100%. So we're going to change it back to make sure that the next time you print something, it will have the default option of that 100%. So step 1 says, if necessary, display the page layout. We are in that option, and then click this page setup dialog box. All right, there we are. We want to click the adjust to option button. So click on that one just above the fit to, and we want to make sure that that's 100%. So just if necessary, type 100%. And this will adjust the printing scaling, as I said, to 100%. So we're not going to click OK. And that should take us back to normal. Let's go ahead and click on Home to display the Home tab. And one last time, we're going to save our workbook in the same folder with the same name. So File, Save. All right, and now if you would like to, you can sign out of your account by clicking on your name on the top right. If you click on it, you can see that option to sign out from your account. All right, so it should be saved. Go ahead and upload it to your MindTab window. See you in the next video.